Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin, aka The Terrible Australian at supermarcy.com. Yep, I'm back with my video review. Sorry if I've sort of disappeared the last few weeks, mainly because I was on holidays over the last few weeks, hence why there hasn't been many video reviews. But I'm back and I'm ready to do more, and I got a couple of ones lined up over the next few days. And plus I've got a whole bunch of... Also, if you follow me at supermarcy.com, you'll know that I am covering the Melbourne International Film Festival once again this year. This will be my 4th year at the festival, so I'll be doing video reviews for all the films that I'm seeing at the festival, so you can keep a lookout for those. But until then, for this video, I will be doing a review of MAGIC MIKE XXL, or extra large, which of course is the sequel to the 2012 film Magic Mike. So let's get right into it. Now I have to say, the first Magic Mike film, which came out in 2012, I actually did really like. I thought, well, it wasn't one of, director Steven Soderbergh's best films, but I did really enjoy it, and I thought it was just like it had likable characters, and it was sort of had a great energy to it, but also at the same time it also had a bit of dramatic heft to it as well. That sort of gave it a bit more weight as a film. And also I expected it to be sort of like a comedy or something when I first heard about it, but it was actually more of a drama. So, but overall that film I did really like it. But when I heard there was going to be a sequel, I wasn't sure if there was a sort of a necessary need for a sequel, but at the same time I was still open to it because, I'm interested to see whether he's, more of this world and also these characters. And I have to say, I thought this sequel, Magic Mike XXL, was pretty good. I would say it's on the same level as the first film. And what's interesting, though, is Steven Soderbergh, who directed the first film, did not direct this one. Instead, his longtime producer slash assistant director, Gregory Jacobs, who is a director in his own right, directed this follow-up. But interesting enough, Soderbergh, even though he didn't direct this film, did stay on as an executive producer. And he also was the cinematographer and as well as the editor on this film. Well, under his pseudonyms that he uses in all of his films. So it was interesting in that regard. Even though he didn't direct it, he was still very much very close to this project, especially in behind the scenes and all that. So, but even if you didn't know that Steven Soderbergh didn't direct this film, the film does feel very much in the same tone as the first one, mostly from a visual standpoint. So you can tell that it doesn't feel like a very different film. Like it has that same sort of visual aesthetic as the first one does, which puts it in continuity with the first film. But that being said, though, even though visually it feels exactly the same as the first one, but the tone is definitely much different. While the first film was much more sort of a drama, the sequel is definitely a much more sort of comedic film. Like, it's much broader and more accessible as a film compared to the first. Well, the first one was accessible in its own way as well, but I meant more sort of... This one is definitely a much more entertaining film, while the first one was more sort of a dramatic type film. But one of the reasons for that, why I think this sequel was as entertaining as it was the cast. I mean, once again, Channing Tatum, I thought, did a really good job in the title role of Magic Mike. His character is very likable, and you kind of root for him as well, because he wants to sort of, even though he does enjoy working as a stripper, but he wants to better himself. He wants to do more with his life, and in the first film, he wanted that, but then is kind of missing that. But in the sequel, he's kind of missing that world, and when the opportunity for him to rejoin his group of male stripper friends for this convention they're going to, he sort of seizes at that opportunity. And also, what I really liked about this sequel is that a lot of the supporting characters that we got to know a bit in the first film, they're all played by the cast like Matt Bomer, Joe Manganiello, Kevin Nash, Adam Rodriguez. They all returned for the sequel. Unfortunately, Matthew McConaughey and Alex Pettiford sort of sit this one out. But those four guys returned for this one. And what I really liked about this sequel, even though I really enjoyed their performances in the first film, but we never really got to know them that much, other than sort of like how each character is, other than the broadness of their characters in the first one. But in this one, we kind of get to know their characters a bit more. Like and I feel like these four were definitely much more well developed in this sequel, and we got to know them a lot and their hopes, their insecurities, their past, and their what they want to do in the future. And particularly interesting enough, Kevin Nash's character. Like, Kevin Nash actually is one of the characters in this film who gets developed the most. And even though it's not like a full-on sort of flashy type of development, but he sort of gets little moments here and there where you can get a bit of more insight into his character. And which I've actually really liked, and Kevin Nash did a really good job of that. But everyone, like Matt Bomer, Joe Manganiello, Manganiello, sorry if I pronounce his name wrong, and Adam Rodriguez, they get a lot more to do as well. So you get to see how, development of these characters. And also Gabriel Iglesias, who's sort of part of that group. He's sort of like this sort of chaperone that works for them. We get a bit more of his character as well. And I thought all the guys, including Channing Tatum, just did a really wonderful job with these characters. The character as a group are very likable, and you can't help but sort of be sort of taken in by them, and you kind of root for them to succeed. And that's the great thing about a film like this. There's nothing cynical about these guys. They're just really sort of, they are very driven, but they're characters that know what they want, and and there's nothing kind of bad about them. They're just really likable guys. And also, you got a whole bunch of new characters in this film as well. You got Amber Heard, who comes in, and she does a pretty solid job as playing the kind of sort of a love interest character to Channing Tatum's character, and also Donald Glover, Stephen Twitch Boss, who are kind of like these new male strippers that the gang come across. And also you get Andie MacDowell comes in as well, and I thought she did a really good job. But also, probably the biggest sort of the supporting cast, who I thought gave one of the most standout performance, was Jada Pinkett Smith as this who plays this woman from Magic Mike's past. And I thought her and Tatum did a really wonderful job with their performances, and they have a really interesting chemistry with each other, and they kind of have a lot of great moments together, and she's really wonderful as well, particularly in the third act of the film. And also, I think Gregory Jacobs does a really good job with his direction here. The film looks great, and he handles the humor really well, and also the staging of sort of the stripper scenes are superbly well done, and they have a lot of energy to them. They're well choreographed, and you can tell that and also it's very well written. Reed Carolyn, who also wrote the first film, he also wrote this one, and the script is pretty solid. I'm not going to say it's a particularly amazing script, but I thought for the most part it's a pretty well written one. And one of the things I really liked about this film is that this film really takes treats women's pleasure very seriously, and it does it in a way that doesn't make women feel bad about it. These are guys who know what women want, and they want to make sure that they have that, and also they really enjoy themselves, and that they have a great time. And because that's their, as male strippers, that's their job, is to please their customers the best way that they can, so that they have a lot of fun. And I really like that the film sort of showcases that. And also the last half of the film, which is like this really sort of like almost 15-minute long sort of big sort of epic sort of stripping scenes, are pretty well choreographed, and each one is completely different from the other, so it doesn't feel like it's the film's repeating itself or anything like that. And I thought that entire sequence was pretty well done. In terms of negatives, even though like I said, it's a really good film. It's not a great film by any means, but like I said, it does its job as a piece of entertainment. But if I had to sort of talk about like, you know, actual negatives and all that, I do feel like the film is a bit overlong. Like, it's an almost 2-hour film, and at times the film does tend to drag a bit. Particularly, there are some scenes, I think, that sort of go on a little bit too longer than they should have. And the ending, even though I did like the ending, but I kind of wish there was a bit more, and it kind of just sort of ends on a note where when it's just getting really, really great, and you kind of wish there was a bit more to it, or have a bit more of a resolution to the story and also to the characters. But other than that, that's just me though. So, but overall, I think Magic Mike is a really solid sequel. I really enjoyed it a lot. I think anyone who really liked the first film is definitely going to enjoy this one. And yeah, I definitely would recommend checking it out. And I know some people out there probably might have their, prejudices with a film like this because it's, the male stripper film. But I think if people just sort of give this one and, as well as the first one a chance, I think they might really enjoy it as well. Like, and it makes some, and I would say of the two films, even though I really like, I'd say I'd give the first film, I like the first film a tad bit more, but I will say that the second film is definitely, of the two, is the more entertaining one. So, and I definitely would say, like I said, if you enjoyed the first one, definitely check out the second one. So, yep, that's my video review of Magic Mike XXL. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys all later. See you everyone. Bye.